Thank you, Mr. Deputy Chair. I'm very happy for you to see you sitting in that chair, sir. I feel honored and privileged to rise in this chamber again today. Again, I would like to thank all my constituents of Regina Northeast to give me this wonderful opportunity. They are constantly in touch with me by phone and via emails. Some phone calls are very intense and some are pretty long ones with a great conversation. Mr. Deputy Chair, I would like to thank my wife Seema and my children Simran, Indu and TJ for their contribution to help me reach where I am standing today. I am thankful to my constituency assistant Cheryl Spencer for being so patient and caring with each and every person living in Regina Northeast, and for always working so hard to assist everyone who needs our help. I would also like to extend a thank you to the caucus office for their guidance and support, and to the Legislative Assembly Services for making sure things are run in a very efficient manner. And lastly, as a new member, it's great to have your fellow MLAs be so friendly and helpful, and to have a leader who is so approachable as our Premier. Mr. Deputy Chair, it is my pleasure today to provide a reply to the budget speech that was given by our Deputy Premier and Minister of Finance on April the 6th. I want to commend her on this budget that makes record investments in healthcare, education, social services, and the protection of people and property. It is a budget that gives people in our province the tools that they will need to start recovery from this pandemic that we are still fighting. Mr. Deputy Chair, before the election, I spent months, I should say 3 years, door knocking and speaking with the residents of Regina Northeast. The concern that I heard repeatedly from both homeowners and local businesses were worries about the debt coming out of this pandemic. I am so proud of our government's commitment to use calculated measures to work towards returning to a balanced budget by 26-27 fiscal year. We are providing the help our constituents need now, while maintaining regard for our province's economic recovery. Under the wise guidance of Dr. Shahab, and with the swift actions taken by the Minister of Health, we were able to provide great support and guidance to our residents to help during this pandemic. Mr. Deputy Chair, in this budget, we are providing $1.5 billion in COVID-19 response, building on a $2 billion previous investment last year and another $1.3 billion over the next 2 years. That is a total of $4.8 billion that our government has dedicated to help protect our constituents' lives and livelihoods. Our government's comprehensive COVID response included mass vaccination rollout, the purchase of more PPE, supporting contact tracing measures, expansion of testing and assessment sites, additional provincial laboratory capacity, supports for long-term care, and coverage of added physician cost. This is a strong recovery plan. Mr. Deputy Chair, several economic COVID-19 supports have also been included in this budget, including $488 million in capital spending, $174 million SAS power rebate, $285 million for SGI rebate, and $200 million to clean up inactive oil wells. Mr. Deputy Chair, thanks to the strength of leadership shown by our Premier, our economy was not shut down completely by this pandemic. Mr. Deputy Chair, I will not be telling the stories here, but the facts with the numbers. Mr. Speaker, this budget also provides the Saskatchewan Health Authority with a $3.96 billion grant this year, up nearly 6% compared to last year. Mr. Deputy Chair, as we have learned from this current pandemic, domestic vaccine production is vital to protecting Canadians through future pandemics. More than $4 million in operating funding is being invested for growing the Vaccine and Infectious Disease Organization. An additional $4.2 million for vaccine development and construction of a new vaccine manufacturing facility has been allocated. This will make Saskatchewan a leader in the nation for research, development, and production of new vaccines. Mr. Deputy Speaker, Regina Northeast has a very diverse population. There are many people who live in my constituency who will benefit from this budget through the incentives and investments announced to create jobs, save them and their businesses money, and that will strengthen our pace of recovery and growth. While on Facebook one day, I found community groups in my riding of Regina Northeast, so I joined them. From these groups, I was able to learn about the concerns of my constituents, such as street lights were out, park maintenance that needed to be done, etc., just to name a few. So firstly, we contacted SaskPower and were able to get several street lights fixed. Next, by working with City Councillor, we were able to bring concerns such as adding benches, play equipment, pedestrian crossings, etc., to the attention of the City Council. One pending issue remains to be addressed in Uplands, that is the paving of a small section of grid road called Burnett Service Road that is regularly used as the East Service Road to Highway number 6, which provides a shortcut to many amenities in Regina Northwest corner for the people living in Uplands area. Specifically, Mr. Deputy Chair, we have seniors who live both independently and in care homes. This budget supports low-income seniors with the maximum benefit under the Seniors Income Plan increasing by $30 a month effective July 1st, 2021. Mr. Deputy Chair, the $6.2 billion Ministry of Health budget, the largest health investment in Saskatchewan's history, goes a long way to support our seniors. With the government's commitment of $500,000 for the replacement of long-term care beds in Regina and $6 million to hire an additional 100 continuing care aides to work both inside long-term care homes and in people's private homes under the home care system, clients will receive assistance with personal care, meals, and medication. Mr. Deputy Chair, the election promise to reduce ambulance fees will provide an additional savings of $135 per trip for our seniors, while the $6.6 million increase to emergency medical services will provide for more ambulances in Regina and Saskatoon and addresses delays when transferring patients along with other improvements. Mr. Deputy Chair, the additional $7.6 million for the Saskatchewan Cancer Agency will bring its annual grant to the highest amount ever provided at $204 million, allowing them to help even more residents in their battle against cancer, which continues to be the leading cause of death in our country. Mr. Deputy Chair, STARS Air Ambulance will also be receiving $1.4 million for a helicopter. In total, the Saskatchewan government has contributed $11.88 million to STARS in funding since December of 2018. STARS has been working to replace its aging fleet of BK-117 and AW-139 helicopters with 9 new medically equipped H-145 Airbus helicopters. Mr. Deputy Chair, we have many families, some just starting out and some who have several generations living in one home. By restarting the Active Families Benefit, which offers $150 per year per child or $200 per year for children with disabilities, for families with less than $60,000 in annual income, kids can get back into the recreational activities which keep them healthy and happy. Mr. Deputy Chair, a family of 4 will also save by paying no provincial income tax on their first $52,250 of combined income. Mr. Speaker, families will also benefit from the advancement in learning facilitated by the 11.6% increase in education spending. This includes the largest ever budget for school divisions, who will receive $1.96 billion in operating funding for the 21-22 school year. It will also fully fund the 2% salary increase in the teachers' collective bargaining agreement. Mr. Deputy Chair, in response to this, the President of the Saskatchewan Teachers Federation, Patrick Mays, stated the following: "It It's a good news budget for education. It helps with inflation and helps with enrollment increases. We are looking at it as a positive. He went on further to say, there are always resource challenges in schools, and we always hope for funding increases beyond inflation and enrollment increases. However, these are difficult times for citizens and for government. A budget always requires tough choices to be made, and the pandemic has increased financial pressure on the provincial government. He even said that this budget essentially holds the line for education. Given the circumstances, this is a realistic approach. Mr. Deputy Chair, an investment of $735 million will go into the post-secondary sector, with an additional $60 million to support and grow post-secondary institutions, as well as $3.6 million increase for the Saskatchewan Advantage Scholarship to help with tuition cost, another campaign promise being met. This was supported by Dr. Peter Stoyshev, University of Saskatchewan President, who stated, "The past year has been challenging for all universities, and we are very grateful for the government's support. The University of Saskatchewan and the Government of Saskatchewan have proven to be partners to the benefit of our province. That has never been more evident during the past year of the pandemic. Together, we were able to advance our teaching, learning, and research mission for the benefit of the people of Saskatchewan." Mr. Deputy Chair, the child care funding increase of $2 million to create 176 additional licensed home-based spaces and 51 new licensed center spaces also goes towards our 4-year commitment to provide 750 new licensed child care spaces. Mr. Deputy Chair, for our most vulnerable constituents, this budget provides a 4.5% increase to social services. This includes a $19 million increase to the Saskatchewan Assured Income for Disability program, increased funding of $6.7 million to community-based organizations with support for people working with those who have intellectual disabilities and for people supporting at-risk children, youth, and families. Mr. Deputy Chair, to support children and youth with developmental and complex behavioral needs through private treatment and group homes, this budget also includes an increase of $8.2 million for new residential care spaces. Mr. Speaker, to support more extended family caregivers, a $3 million increase has been included, and to help prevent children from coming into the care of social services, there is a $1.4 million increase for in-home family supports. And to support high-risk expectant mothers with enhanced outreach and coordination of services, Mr. Speaker, an additional $500,000 has been added to Sanctum 1.5. Mr. Deputy Chair, this budget also invests a record $458 million for mental health and addictions program and services, up to $23.4 million from last year. Targeted mental health and addiction services will receive $7.2 million of these total funds and includes expansion of harm reduction and addictions treatment, as well as youth-focused treatments and suicide prevention. Hospital-based mental health and addiction services, physician visits, and prescription drug costs are being allocated $16.2 million. Mr. Deputy Chair, there are also many civil servants who make sure that our province operates safely and efficiently. This budget supports more than 17,500 jobs by providing $3.1 billion in capital investment, including $190 million for educational capital projects. This includes 60 new schools in our province and renovations to 5 more. There is also an investment of $162 million for healthcare capital, including $5.7 million for urgent care centers in Regina and Saskatoon. This budget invests more than $324 million in government services infrastructure. Mr. Deputy Chair, the budget includes many incentives for our residents, including a $66.4 million for the home renovation tax credit. That provides a 10.5% tax credit on up to $20,000 of eligible home renovation. And for business owners, including $64.6 million for the small business tax rate reduction as an example. Mr. Deputy Chair, in a positive response to the many business supports outlined in this budget, Saskatchewan Chamber of Commerce CEO Steve McLennan stated, "The businesses of this province are very aware of the impact the last year and this one has had on the financial health of Saskatchewan. Moving forward, it is only through continuing to support business growth and building a competitive environment that the province can return to its pre-pandemic fiscal position." Mr. Deputy Chair, the budget also delivers a $287,000 to the Public Complaints Commission to develop a serious incident response team for investigating incidents involving police officers in the province. This will help eliminate the current practice of having police investigate police, which has been criticized from experts and families of people who have been injured or killed in situations involving Saskatchewan police officers. Mr. Deputy Chair, immigration and career training supports in Saskatchewan has been allotted $27.3 million, which includes funding for workforce development. The employability assistance for persons with disability top-up, the Canada-Saskatchewan Job Grant, and the Newcomer and Settlement Program. Over 143,600 immigrants have arrived in our province since 2007. These newcomers from 181 different countries have settled in roughly 445 communities in all corners of our province. Mr. Deputy Chair, as part of the $15 million commitment announced last summer to further Saskatchewan's global leadership in the ag tech sector, this budget invests $3 million into an agricultural technology venture capital fund. Mr. Deputy Chair, the increased funding for international offices by $5 million, bringing the total to $9.3 million. That means the Ministry of Trade and Export Development can start expanding Saskatchewan's presence overseas by doubling the number of international trade and investment offices, ensuring the growth of our export markets. 4 new trade offices will be added this year, complementing Saskatchewan's existing offices in India, Japan, Singapore, and China. Mr. Deputy Chair, I am proud that our government is providing more than $22.7 million through the Investing in Canada plan. Through this project, we will be providing our communities with reliable, eco-friendly, and sustainable infrastructure. Mr. Deputy Chair, our government is showing their commitment to protect our citizens by allocating more than $800 million in investments that will make our highways safer. Over $500 million of those funds will go towards safety and efficiency improvements. On key highway corridors, we will improve 1,350 kilometers of provincial highways in the second year of our 10-year growth plan, with the goal to build and upgrade 10,000 kilometers of highways. Mr. Speaker, this provincial budget supports the return to work for all of these people and provides reinforcements to the kind of work that they do and how they live. As we all know, because of this pandemic and the uncertainty caused by it, nobody can predict with certainty or truly forecast the future of our province in the next few months or years to come. Mr. Speaker, this budget provides relief to this uncertainty by including incentives and investments that will create jobs, conserve Saskatchewan people and businesses money, and strengthen the pace of recovery and growth in our province. Mr. Speaker, our government has implemented the largest utility rebate ever through the Crown Utilities. Due to this rebate, our constituents are entitled to the lowest utility expenses in all of the nation. Mr. Speaker, to improve fairness in tax, our government is adding a vapor products tax, VPT, with a rate of 20% on the retail price of all vapor liquids, products, and devices to begin in September 2021. In response to this, Jennifer May, who is the Vice President for Health Promotion and Government Relations at the Lung Association of Saskatchewan, has stated, "We know that vaping taxation can help prevent youth initiation and reduce consumption, which of course means it also reduces harm for our healthcare system. To maintain tax equity between different types of tobacco products, a heat not burn tax on tobacco sticks will be added at 20.5 cents per stick, coming into effect June the 1st. Mr. Speaker, there will also be an annual $150 tax for passenger electric vehicles. There are currently over 400 electric vehicles in the province that will now be contributing to highway maintenance as the rest of our residents currently do through the provincial fuel tax. Though the new tax will only apply to passenger vehicles for now, we will continue to study collecting the tax at charging stations and applying it to the commercial vehicles. Mr. Speaker, the Saskatchewan Technology Startup Incentive, which offers a non-refundable 45% tax credit to Saskatchewan investors, will encourage investment in technology, bring new products to market, and create jobs. This incentive has already attracted $22 million in investment, benefiting 62 tech companies and creating 144 new jobs. Mr. Speaker, thanks to our Premier's balanced approach, the Saskatchewan economy is surviving this pandemic with continuing high levels of employment and growth in housing starts, wholesale trade, and international exports. Mr. Speaker, I would like to say on behalf of all the residents of Regina Northeast that this budget is very important for them and their community, and this particular budget is making sure that their jobs, their businesses, their livelihoods, their continued growth through education and the recreational things they do that make their lives full will continue. Mr. Speaker, I have been delivering information on the business supports put in place to help with the impacts from COVID-19. By doing so, we were not only able to bring awareness of the measures in place to aid them, we were even able to assist some of them with the process of applying. This has given me a great opportunity not only to get to know various business owners in my constituency, but to also find out how much this pandemic has affected them directly. Mr. Speaker, I am so thankful to businessmen in my constituency like Moni Minhas, who is investing millions into our economy during these tough times, and to exporters like AGT Foods, who buy from farmers here in Saskatchewan, then process and export their products to over 120 countries around the world, are vital to keeping our economy going. Mr. Speaker, due to our Premier's great foresight, Saskatchewan's net debt to GDP is the lowest in Canada, and our credit rating is the second highest in the country. Mr. Speaker, any successful business person in this province knows that you need measurable goals and objectives to succeed. This budget has provided not only the means for recovery, but also the capacity for measurements to know we are on the correct path. Mr. Speaker, I believe the Minister of Finance deserves recognition for tabling this budget in the economic conditions that the entire world is faced with today due to the pandemic. I know this budget is fiscally responsible and it is targeted to the priorities of our government and fulfills the promises that we campaigned on last fall during the election. In this time of economic upheaval, Mr. Speaker, not just in our province, but throughout the entire world, and with the probability that every other province in Canada is going to be running massive deficits this year, placing financial burden on future generations. This Deputy Premier and Minister of Finance ensured that Saskatchewan stands as a prudent example of fiscal responsibility, while still addressing the needs of our people. Mr. Speaker, I am very thankful for the hard work put into this budget by the Ministry of Finance and the Cabinet members. Mr. Speaker, I am very happy to say that I will be supporting this budget presented by the Minister of Finance and seconded by the member for the Battlefords. I will not be supporting the amendment from the member for Regina Rosemont. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.